I think for a long time I thought doing anything for myself would have been selfish, but it's ended up proving the exact opposite, is the
Mm.
healthier and more fulfilled that I become, the healthier and more fulfilled and more thriving my family becomes.
Welcome to the Twin Mom Life Podcast. I'm your host, Jess. I created this podcast to help build community, connection, and most importantly, friendships among moms of multiples. Being a twin mom can be amazing and magical. That twin bond is unlike anything I've ever witnessed. But it can also be isolating and overwhelming. I'll be chatting with other twin moms, diving deep into the twin experience, giving advice on what works for us so you don't have to learn the hard way. Juggling two babies at the same time is challenging, but I'm confident we can learn from each other and figure out how to raise these babies together. Welcome to the podcast. So today we have Brooke. How are you?
Oh, I'm so well. Thank you, Jess.
Yes, thank you for coming on today. So can you tell us a little bit about your family?
Oh, I'd love to. My family is one of my favorite topics. I have 6 children, and the oldest is 12, the youngest just turned 5, and we ended up with 3 and 3. We have 3 girls and 3 boys, which is perfect, and we had them in 7 years. You don't kinda do that math when you hear 12 to 5, but we had 6 kids in 7 years. And we have one set of twins, and it was our second pregnancy. So we literally went from 1 to 3, which you get, but we didn't stop.
Yes.
We then kept growing our family after that. So and they are my dream come true. I always wanted
Aw,
a house full of kids.
I love that. And I think that's impressive to go from 1 to 3 and then to keep going. Like you have 6 kids.
It takes
That's
a
a big
special
family.
it is a special breed of crazy, I tell you.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to get into all of that, but before we do, can you tell us a little bit about well, I know it's actually 7:30 there. So,
It
if
is.
you haven't yeah, it's early. So, if you haven't filled your cup already, do you have plans to do so today?
Well, you sent me this question. I was like, "Okay, it's 7:30 in the morning. I have to be responsible today." And, um, so water, I know that's like a literal filling of the cup, but as I filled my water this morning, I was like, "There are so many mothers that do not start their day hydrating." Yes. So, I literally filled my cup and then am here with my big old cup, but I have a
Cheers.
podcast. Cheers. I love that. Here we go. Um, I have a podcast that I listen to every day, and usually it is on the way to the gym. It's 15 minutes, and it's just the gal is Terry Savelle Foy. She sounds like a Barbie doll. And at first, it kinda drove me nuts, but now I'm like, "I couldn't start my day without you." It's the perfect drive to the gym. Today, I did it while I was doing my makeup because I wanted to make sure I was back here, but she's just my little, she calls herself the cheerleader of dreams, and that is exactly what her little voice does, and it's what I do every morning.
I love that. And what's her
Yep.
podcast called and what's it about? Just like motivational?
Okay, it's called oh geez. She is the cheerleader of dreams. She's amazing. Her podcast is about it's a faith-based podcast, and she
Okay.
believes that if God has a dream in your heart, it's there for a reason. You're like an example is
Mm.
she always wanted to be a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, and now she gets to minister to Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, and she's like, "This was so silly, like, who would that would never be God's ministry for me, that I was just obsessed with cheerleaders." But sure enough, time goes on, and yeah, she's just a great she talks about dreams, she talks about God's favor, she takes a lot of the things that the world talks about, that, speak affirmations over yourself, power of manifestation, power of positive thinking, law of attraction. And she's like, "Guys, this works because it's in the Bible." And then she
Mm.
shows you where it is, and she breaks it into really manageable chunks. Again, just 10 to 15 minutes, which is always perfect for me first thing in the morning. So I really enjoy her. And, she has YouTube, she has a podcast, and I don't remember what it's called.
Oh, that's okay. We can link it in the show notes later. No problem.
Perfect.
I just
Yep.
am always curious. I'm like a podcast girly.
Yeah.
If I'm folding laundry, I'm listening to a podcast. So I
Oh my
always
gosh, me too.
love, yes, it's just such a good way to habit stack, grow your brain. I love music too, but sometimes I'm just in the mood to listen to a podcast. So I'm always loving to hear recommendations. And I feel like it's not super typical to find podcasts that are like short like that, quick 15 minutes. I feel like a lot of the podcasts I listen to are an hour, which takes
Yep.
me, I mean, sometimes days to get through, mom
No, I'm
life.
totally with you. Or like I'll wanna play one when my kids are around and I like that they can actually hear the whole
Mm,
message instead of just
yes.
like a snippet. So yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, the shortness is one of my favorite things about it.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that you brought up like hydration. I have my big jug of electrolytes that I make sure I always have. I try to have all the time, but especially when I'm talking on a podcast because, sometimes you get parched while you're talking so much. But I feel like it is always like if I'm getting snappy or just feel like icky, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I've only had coffee today. That's terrible." So I
Yeah,
am trying really hard to start my day with water electrolytes before I drink coffee, which is so hard, but I'm really
good for
trying.
you.
So that's a good reminder. And will keep cheersing throughout the podcast.
I love that. And I think it's important for our kids too. Like my
Yeah.
I started that 2 years ago that just really like, not diving into the water, but, like, kind of setting a line in our house of, like, "This is what you drink." There is for
Mm.
us, you don't need juice. I think sports drinks are not I don't think they're good. This is what we drink. And so I literally will walk up to my kids and they're like, "Oh, mama, good. Can I have a drink? Can I have a drink?" I mean, Brady's should not be in the car, but this is literally what's on the floor of our car. And it's just become, I bring water with us places. And I think it drives my husband nuts. But once kids start to realize how thirsty they are, you don't have to remind them. And they just want it and they drink it and they're starting to listen to their body and it's what their body needs. It's what we all need.
Yes, absolutely. And it's crazy how much like being dehydrated can affect everything, like your brain, your body. So it's
Your
important. So
skin, I mean, everything,
yes,
being out in
yeah,
the sun, your energy, 100%.
yeah, all of it. So I love that. It's such a good reminder. So if you're listening, go drink some water.
Cheers.
Go drink some water right now. Okay. So the past 5 weeks have been challenging in my life, like with my kids and medical things. So I feel like I've really put exercise on the back burner. And last Tuesday, I went to yoga. And this Tuesday evening, I'm going to yoga. So that is how I'm going to fill my cup today and trying to be more intentional about actually going. Cause I feel like when you get really busy, it's very easy to put those things off when you actually need it the most. So I'm very excited to go to yoga this evening.
Okay, can I ask you a question about that?
Yes.
Because I get in my head specifically about the word yoga and like a class because and there's a gym that opened here and I think it's like women specific. It's not yoga, but it's one of those like, oh my gosh, they have the machines. I've seen them
Oh,
online
like
that not
Pilates?
like the wooden ones that my brain goes to like medieval torture chamber where it's like the cables and the sliders and I'm like I I'm afraid to go to like do you offer a one-on-one orientation where we could just watch what you're doing and does anyone die or get tortured before I actually sign up to be around other people? So
That's
I'm
so
really
funny.
proud of you for going like because in my head, it's scary.
Well, I will say I don't use like we don't use any kind of machines. This is just
Okay.
like mat yoga and they do offer Pilates also. It's just mat Pilates. They have no like reformers or machines or anything. And I feel like a lot of gyms will offer a free class. So if you go and you're like, "Oh, this is not my thing," then you can, no harm no foul. I will tell you, I am the kind of person who needs to be told what to do to exercise. Like, if I
Okay.
exercise at home, I'm just like, "Do, do, 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 do." I could be doing laundry or, like, and it's nice to physically get to leave the house and, like, be with other it's mainly women who take the course, like, be with other women, take the class, leave the house. Because if I try to do a workout from home, I just
Yeah.
won't do it.
Yeah. Or everybody, somebody needs something opened or can't reach the milk
Yes.
or yep, nope, I'm with you.
Yeah, it's hard. I feel like it's so funny. I feel like if my husband does a workout at home, like, no one bothers him, and then if I try, it's like everyone's around my legs. So, it's nice to actually be able to get a workout in. And the yoga place I go to is not scary. So,
Good.
I feel like you should do, like, a trial. Most gyms, like I was mentioning, will totally let you do that just to, like, see if it's your thing.
Yeah.
But I really liked it. I feel like especially I also think, like, it's good exercise and it just feels relaxing.
Well, I noticed that the yoga definitely clears the head, but so I'm
Yeah.
training for a triathlon for the first time in my life,
That's
and it's
amazing.
coming up in like 2 it's a short one. It's like the shortest one you can do. It's literally called the title is "Why Not Try?" So it just kinda like, it builds your confidence just even with the title. Um,
Yeah, sure.
but I went swimming the other morning and I was surprised. I literally got in the car and like sent a voice memo to somebody that I like needed to respond to. And it was like the swimming is what finally got it out. And it was like,
Mm.
okay, that felt really good. Like I had not done my like work. I had let myself sleep in over Memorial Day, and it was like, oh man, more people need to know about this. Like your wheels just start turning when you get that heart pumping.
Yes, that's so true. Good for the mind, body, and soul.
Yeah,
Okay, so I would love to learn more about Alaska. So you live in Alaska, and are you
I
from
do.
there, or what brought your family to Alaska?
We are not from Alaska. I grew up in Michigan.
Okay.
Huge shout out to the Midwest, and my parents still live there. We're going back this summer. Love Michigan, beautiful place to grow up. The Hand. We were West Michigan, and then I went to school in Virginia, did graduate school in Nashville at Vanderbilt, and then moved to Colorado because skiing, like I was very fortunate. I grew up skiing in the mountains of Colorado. That's where I learned to ski. That was where we did family. My parents believed in experiences
Mm.
were like over stuff. And so that was what we did. So I knew as a child, like I needed to be in the mountains. That's where that was calling me home. So I, my parents graduated from graduate school and they knew I was going to get a job in my field in the mountains or I was going to be a ski instructor. And they were like, please get a teaching job. Please get a job in your field. Please get a job in your field, which I did. Um, and that's where I met my husband. And he was from Missouri, St. Louis, and he moved to the mountains to hunt, and I moved to the mountains to ski, and we were both first-year teachers in the same school district the same year, and so we met in new teacher induction, and you have to
Oh,
go to
cool.
new teacher induction once a month, and, by December, we had our first date, and he proposed a year later, and we were married 6 months after that, and actually our 15th wedding anniversary is in a couple of weeks. So,
Oh,
um, yeah, that's
congrats.
thank you. So we met and, we were married in Michigan, but met in Colorado. That's where we were teaching, had all of our children up in they call it the Western Slope, so Glenwood Springs, the actual mountain part of Colorado, and we were there about 12 years. And then we had always talked about Alaska. But I will be very honest, by the time we had our sixth, I thought that discussion was dead. Like, we had six children, very close in age. We were very, we didn't have family in Colorado, but that's where we had built our life.
Mm.
And it didn't feel that far from family. I mean, my parents would drive out. St. Louis is right along I-70. You just keep driving all through Kansas. And then, you know how you can look at it one of two ways. You can either say a lot of things went wrong, or you can say a lot of things came together perfectly. But 3 years ago, we moved to Alaska. And that is all what came together. And we have said ever since we got here, why didn't we do this sooner?
Mm.
This is where we belong as a family. It is far from our blood family, but this is where we want to raise our kids.
Oh, so you think that you will be there indefinitely?
That is the plan. But I always get nervous saying that because there were other times
Things
I thought we
change.
were going to be somewhere, and it's like, you know what,
Sure.
Lord, we you've got us. So I won't get too attached. But no, we really love it here.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have never been to Alaska, but I can imagine just especially like you were talking about, your husband's really into hunting and outdoors and you love the mountains and skiing. I mean, it seems like such a perfect place and what a fun place to raise a family. And I would
It
love to
really.
talk about that. So, you have
Okay,
6 kids and your
I do.
twins are your 2nd and 3rd.
Yes.
So, I'm impressed, like, what did you always know that you wanted 6 kids? And then after you had twins, you were like, "Yes, let's keep going."
Let's keep going. Um, so I honestly, 6 was the smallest number I ever
Stop.
entertained. No,
Really?
seriously. I was one of those really weird kids. I thought everybody wanted kids. Like, I was the one at college who was talking about the 6 and 7 and 10 kids I was gonna have, and my friends were like, nope, it's just you. It's nope, this is not this is not something we talk about at sorority parties, Brooke. Like, this is not
That's
this
hilarious.
is just you. Yeah,
Do you come from a big family?
only child.
Really? Okay, that is very interesting because I am also an only child. And I
Okay,
always knew I wanted to be a mom, and I feel like maybe growing up that, like, I would want, like, 2 or 3, and then when I became a mom and had my daughter, I was like, "Oh, I definitely want only 1 or 2," which is funny because now I have 3. I just
that's
postpartum was
funny.
really hard. Yeah, like, postpartum was hard with COVID, and my mom is one of
Oh, yeah.
7, and she only had 1, so I was like, "Oh, that's interesting."
Okay. Yep.
So, yeah, that's how funny, both only children, and then I mean, I have 3 and I couldn't imagine it any other way. Like, it's always funny to me that
Oh,
I was okay with only having 1 or maybe having 2 because I was meant to have twins and to have 3 kids, but
yep.
yeah, 6. So are you
Yes.
guys done or do you guys think you will go for
We are
more?
done. No, we are
Okay.
done. I was very fortunate that, I feel like sometimes people talk about generational curses, but I do feel like if you switch the way you look at it, there can be generational blessings as well.
Mm,
And
sure.
since so my husband, I want to make this concise, but I do think it's important to share because it's not normal. I'm just not normal. We just need to get that on the table. Um,
None of us are
so
normal. We're all kinda weird. I love
Yep,
it.
that's what
I
makes
love
us so awesome.
yes.
So I am an only child. I'm my mom's only child. My parents are 21 years apart. And
Okay.
my mom knew she knew she needed to be a mom. And when she and my dad were dating, he was a pediatrician, he was around kids, he had kids, and I think my mom made kind of a flippant comment about like, well, and that chapter of your life is done. Cause she knew this wasn't serious. This guy was
Mm.
older. He was not she could not have a baby with this man, and so it wasn't serious. And my dad took that little joke and looked at her so seriously and said, I would never deny a woman the right to have a baby. And that was
Huh.
back in the late 70s when, I mean, now we hear about women's rights. You don't hear about a woman's right to have a baby. And yet,
Hmm.
that was the story of my existence. That is why my mom invested in that relationship. That was why
Hmm.
they got married. I'm not why they got married, but she said, okay, this is the man. And I am a result of that promise, really, that he had said. And I am her only child. And I married a man where I wanted more kids than he did. He thought
Hmm.
4 would be just perfect, but he knew I was not done with that. And we did pause a brief sec. I mean, for us, we paused a year between our 4th and trying for our 5th. For us, that was a long time. It was an
Yeah.
intentional pause, which we had never had before. But he knew I wanted and needed 2 more. And the fact we haven't talked about the gender and birth order, but we had girl, boy, girl twins, another girl. Our last 2 are boys. And the fact that our last 2 was my husband, his gift to me, I am just so convinced. The fact they're boys, which their own breed of crazy, that is very much God's blessing on my husband of saying,
Hmm.
"You did this for her. I am going to give you these last 2 boys," which boys are just different. Boys are different.
I
But my
I
husband
understand
is in
that.
heaven. Yeah.
Aw. Well, that's very sweet. And were you not afraid to have a second set of twins? Or if it happened, that's something that you would have welcomed? Because that's something I mean, we are done at 3, but I was
You are.
also terrified to go from 3 to 5. Like, I personally don't think I could have handled a second set of twins.
Okay. I wasn't I wasn't terrified. I wasn't terrified enough to stop having
Sure.
kids. Definitely knew it was a possibility. With our 4th, that was our briefest, age gap, well, until we intentionally had him really fast, but, I mean, I don't know what if you go into nursing timelines on here, I don't wanna make people uncomfortable.
No, I don't think there's any
Okay, nothing's off limits here. We're all moms.
I was gonna say, I don't think there's I think
Okay.
moms wanna hear that. I think, yes, if you feel comfortable, then please do share.
So, I did not have a period with my twins until they were almost a year old. I mean, I got to the point where I was like, "Is this ever going to come back?" Not because I was thinking of our next child, but because I knew they were coming up on a year, and I had been nursing them, and then we were nursing less and less. Um,
Mhm.
and so I think I had 1 period, and then they turned a year, and then I suddenly couldn't really nurse them anymore, and I was like, "Okay, you guys are just you're not getting what you need," and we switched to, I think, whole milk at that point, and then, like, 2 days later, I took a pregnancy test, and I couldn't believe it, and then I was like, "Well, that explains why I didn't have any milk anymore," like, I'd been,
Mm.
coming to the end and then, didn't even know I was pregnant. But that my husband, that is all he talked about until we saw a doctor was what and then our twins were barely a year old, and we
Mm.
had just found out and our oldest was 3 because they were born before she turned 2. So that was all he talked about for a very long time. We found out it was 1 child. But when I got pregnant with my 5th, I didn't tell him until I saw the doctor. because I didn't
Oh,
wanna listen
really?
to 6 weeks or 8 weeks of him being like, "What if it's twins? What if it's twins? What if it's twins?"
Sure.
I just didn't say anything until I had been to that appointment, and then I was like, "I'm pregnant,
It's just
it's
one.
1, here's the proof, like, yes, we can all breathe for a minute." So,
And how do you think you balanced all of that? That is, I mean, like you were saying, those are really short age gaps. So you had a lot of little babies relying on you. I think it's still hard, but maybe different when there's more spaced out ages. And then you're having a baby when like the oldest is like 8 or 9, or you know what I mean? I think that's different than having 6 kids in such close ages. So how do you think you were able to balance all of that?
I think I didn't really think about it. In my head, it just made sense. I never I didn't overthink it, I guess
Mm,
is what it was. I It was what I wanted to do, and so I didn't see it as a, well, what could this be if I had spread them out? It was, I was 30 when my first was born. I knew I wanted 6. I remember, I never told my husband this, but I remember like opening my journal one night and being like, okay, it is 2014. And if I have baby number 1 in this year and I have baby number, and I like wrote it out and I was like, okay, can I have 6 kids before I'm 40? And at that point, I didn't know that I would have twins in there, and
yeah, that helped you get there faster.
it did help me get there faster, absolutely. So, I mean, I liked the idea of hand-me-downs, I liked the idea that we were gonna, and when we registered for that first stroller, oh, I remember that was a point of contention with one of the sides of our family, was how expensive this stroller was. Now,
Mm,
obviously, baby stuff is so expensive, but we chose a stroller that we knew would expand with our family,
right, and
and at that point,
last.
we only had 1, but yeah, that was, and we, like, stuck to our guns, and we were like, "Look, we are not asking anybody to buy this stroller for us. We are trying to look ahead." But if I were thinking in terms of, "Okay, we're gonna have a baby, and in 5 or 6 or 8 years have another one," I would have made different decisions. So,
Sure.
I think you just I think, and again, I you and I think, came from very different points of view. Of, you were like, "Okay, I want 1 or 2." I knew what I wanted, and so I
Mhm.
wasn't looking for the, like, "Oh gosh, this is really hard. It would be nice if somebody could tie their shoes." No, this is, nobody knows how to tie their shoes yet. Potty training, they did it all together. We just, there were things that, like, my oldest didn't learn maybe as early as other kids, and my youngest learned earlier because they all 4, those, especially those 4 that were born in 3 years, they learned it at the same time, and
Mhm.
they helped each other learning it. And now we almost have, like, these little 2 that come up after, and the older 4 are like, "Are you ready to ride a bike? Are you ready to learn how to tie a shoe? Let's go." It's like, "Oh, guys, you're you're wonderful."
I think that's one of my favorite things of watching sibling dynamics. So, obviously, I have 3. I have a daughter first also, and then I have
Okay.
twin boys. They're 3 years apart. So, I have never seen my daughter be a sibling to anyone other than twins.
Yeah.
And just seeing her, like, she just has this, even before she was a sister, she has this very, like, nurturing, teaching soul. She just graduated kindergarten and she got the OWL award, and the whole premise behind that is that she's a diligent learner who likes to teach others. And I was
Oh,
like, that
I
is
love
so
that.
perfect for her. And just watching, I love watching my boys bond. It's very special. But watching my daughters bond with them is so cool. And you get to see that in so many different personalities and dynamics. And I think that's something really special, especially coming from an only child where I
Yeah.
didn't really I mean, of course, I had close friends and I have a million cousins because my mom is one of 7 and my husband's
Right?
mom is one of 8. So, like, we have a lot of cousins, but that's very different than having siblings in the home and things like that. So, I think
It
that's been
is.
really fun and challenging for me as an only child and like seeing those dynamics. I think it's almost helpful to have twins because I feel like those sibling dynamics are a lot stronger. Like, they love really hard, and then they also fight really hard, and I'm getting to the point where I'm like, "It's fine." Like, no one's a psychopath. This is, like, normal sibling dynamics, But it's really fun to watch that. So I love that you were kind of going into that too of, like, everyone learning together. I feel the same thing. I feel like my boys have potty trained maybe a little bit later than my daughter, but they've done other things like ride scooters and like do artwork way earlier than my daughter ever did because they're watching their sister do it.
So true. And if she
So,
just came home from kindergarten, she's teaching them the letters, I have no doubt, because she's this little
yes,
teacher. Yes, the numbers, the letters, all the things.
she will be like, "Let's play school." And she's like so serious. We have an easel in our playroom. So she'll like put chairs down. She's like, "Sit on these chairs. It's circle time. We're going to go over the alphabet." Like, she's so serious. It's hilarious, and they just
I
follow her
love
around like little ducklings. It's so precious. So, that's
Oh.
really fun to see, and I bet your sibling dynamics are similar in that sense, but just, like, volumized because you get to see all these different interactions and relationships with all of the different personalities of your kids.
It really is true. They will not admit this, and it may be decades before they would ever say it. Maybe they never will. The greatest gift I'm giving them is each other. And
Yeah.
I and they do not feel that way at the moment. Um and they probably won't for a very long time, but that is my heart behind our family is look, you guys will have each other forever. And anything I can do to strengthen that early on, I wanna be doing.
That's I completely agree. I had someone else on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. I'm trying to remember the exact quote that she said, but it almost, like, made me cry. It was very sweet. It was something along the lines of, you will meet friends as you get older. Your parents will always be there. Well, to a certain point, right? But the one constant are your siblings.
Yeah.
Especially having our kids so close together. Like, my daughter does not remember her life before her brothers were born. Like, she does not remember being an only child for 3 years. She has
Yeah.
no recollection of that. Like, her only memory is, like, growing up with her brothers, and I think that's really special.
Yeah. I agree.
So, I know we weren't, like, planning to talk about this, but maybe for a couple minutes, I'd love to pick your brain. So,
Uh-huh.
what are you doing to encourage those sibling dynamics, like, within your twins and within the 6 of them?
So, I think I don't encourage it in a strategic way, if that makes sense. But
Sure.
again, with 6, I have come to learn and accept and allow that they are going to have their own little special friendships in different
Mm,
seasons, sometimes in different hours, and that's okay. 2 of them are on the same cheerleading team, and sometimes that's, like, an amazing bond, and sometimes they can't stand that they both are on that same team, and I think allowing there to be an ebb and a flow between the strengths of the older ones and the interests of the younger ones, not always having to do everything together, I think maybe is what we do. Perhaps a good example, or I hope it's a good example, this summer, for example, so our 10-year-olds, our twins are our 10-year-olds, and they're 10 and a half. Our son is I mean, I know I'm his mom, but he's a really good wrestler. Like, he's been wrestling since he was 6. He would have started at 5, but COVID didn't have little boy wrestling that year, and he just gets it. Like, he has not come upon a sport he hasn't loved, but
mm,
wrestling, all that to say, we are headed to nationals this summer. In fact, when this
Yeah.
podcast comes out, we will have already been there. And so he is competing 10U. He is undefeated in 10U almost the past 2 years.
That's
But we're
incredible.
in Alaska. And so, he's gone to Vegas, he's gone to Idaho, he's done some stuff in the Western region. But he's the oldest in his age group, before you become the youngest in your group. So this
Mm,
is a big
okay.
deal. And
Yeah.
so we have family in the lower 48 that we have not been down, all 8 of us, since we moved to Alaska. We've kind of gone in uh we've like taken numbers who's going to go to which things. So what we've elected to do is our 10-year-old is flying down for a camp and then flying into where the one of the competitions is going to be. My husband is driving with 2 of our kids, with the twin sister and then our 6-year-old boy, because we talked about the dynamics of the kids, of who was going to do well at or better at a just with daddy in the car for that trip, um, who could handle that time, was gonna be at a wrestling tournament, knows and enjoys or at least understands wrestling, can be trusted in that environment, and then they're driving to Iowa, and then the 3 others, my 12-year-old daughter, my 8-year-old daughter, and the 5-year-old boy, we're still gonna be in Alaska for another week, and then we're gonna fly to the Midwest, the 4 of us, and then we'll all reconnect. So, my husband and I strategically made that decision based on the strengths and the needs of our kids, based on the sibling relationships. And now coming into summer, they know this is coming. And so we can talk about that. Oh, Cece is getting excited. Is that the book you're going to take on your road trip? What are you and Hunter going to be doing in the car for that time that it's just you guys and daddy? And then, of course, Brady, well, I'm not going to be there. No, Brady, you're going to be on an airplane. Are you going to sit next to Lily or are you going to sit next to Tracy? And we make it special for
Mm.
each of those things. And, the bond, the little experience they're going to have before then they get to come together and will tell us the cool stuff about the plane, will tell us about the animals you saw driving through Canada. I mean, that's how we're trying to do it.
I love that. I think especially, I mean, I feel like I have a big family, for compared to people who have 1 or 2 kids, and I do feel
Oh,
like
yeah.
you have to divide and conquer. And I love, especially as your kids getting older, mine are still so little. My boys are 2. So we're still learning their personalities and their strengths, and they'll be 3 in 2 weeks. But they're
Ooh.
still I know, I can't believe it, but they're still, like, very little. But, of course, their personalities are starting to really shine, and as they get older, I'm excited to do things like that. I feel like we've done little things like that, like, my husband is a musician, he does not tour full-time anymore, but occasionally when he has gone on a show, he has taken my daughter, if it's next to family, so that she can go to the show and then go stay with family, where the boys will stay home with me and we'll do something fun, like, going to, like, Chick-fil-A is a big deal for them. So, like,
Oh,
"Okay,
yeah, for sure.
we're going on a" yeah, right? Like, little things.
That's
So, obviously, this is
a big deal for us
a
too.
much
Yeah.
smaller scale for our family since they're a little bit younger, but I love that, and I think that is really fun to have special time with certain siblings and mom and, same thing with dad and get you guys both get to do really neat experiences, just different. And I
Yeah.
I think that's really cool and such a cool way to divide and conquer. And then you guys get to come together at the end of it for like a family vacation. So, I think that's such a brilliant way to handle it. And I know
Thank you.
we were kind of talking about this off air, and I feel like, having 6 kids, I made the decision after the twins were born to become a full-time stay-at-home mom. With my daughter, I was still working. It was more part-time, but I was still working. And then once the twins were born, I always wanted to be there and be present. And also, like, financially, it did not make sense to pay for childcare for 3 under 3 with what I was bringing in. Like, the math wasn't math, and like, it didn't make sense for me to work any longer. It made more financial sense to stay home, and I wanted to. I know not everyone has, like, the dreams to be a stay-at-home mom, but I did, and I
that was what you
know.
wanted.
Yeah, that's what I wanted, and I think now it's fun that the boys are getting slightly older and turning 3, that I want to have, like, a passion project, and it's been so fun to start this podcast and try to build a twin-specific community, and I'm excited to see where it goes, but I don't really think I had the brain capacity to do that before they turned 2 years old, and I know, like, I'd love to hear about that and how you handled work. I know you were a teacher, and,
Yeah.
when did you step away from that, and what did that look like?
Yes, I was a teacher. I love hearing that your little girl does her little classroom and sits everybody down. I was not that child. I was the one playing mom. I was not
Mm.
pretending to have a classroom. I was pretending to have all the babies, which I then went on to do. Um, and but so I was a teacher of the blind and visually impaired in Colorado, and it was unique. And I covered 5 different school districts, and I would drive to the kids who were in
Mm.
their home schools. So there was about half of my time that I was driving and half of the time that I was seeing kids, and I had a where we were and the time it was, the teens of the 2000s, sounds weird to say, but I had a ton of flexibility as long as I met those hours. We had our kids in a Montessori school, and I could coordinate with the drop off for that before seeing my students. And it was the school where we wanted them to be, and I could work out my maternity leaves even with kind of looking at the annual calendar of how much services kids
Mm.
need and then taking a couple extra weeks. It worked really well. And then COVID happened and I came completely virtual, and which it's that was its own beast of teaching students who were blind on the computer,
Oh my gosh.
but we figured it out, and that was that school year. It wasn't until, when our 6th when Brady we ended up with 3 boys and 3 girls, so our youngest is Brady because we became the Brady Bunch. And,
I love
um
that.
yeah, just fun trivia of our family. My husband took a different job, and we moved, and I was in Colorado at the time, a lot of districts were 4 days a week, and
Mm.
where I'd been working were 4 days a week, and then we moved, it was still 4 days a week, but I was in the building those 4 days. There was no more travel time
Mm.
or, like, shifting my schedule, if needed. And I definitely noticed a change in how I was able to take care of everybody. And at that point, I mean, our kids were between age 1 and 8. So, still looking back, it's like, wow, I had no idea the busyness that was coming with the upper elementary, middle school years. I probably still don't even know the busyness that's coming. But that was a start of realizing, "Ooh, I am really getting stretched here
Mm.
in what I'm able to do." And then after that year, we moved to Alaska, and that was 3 years ago, and all of a sudden, I was 5 days a week special ed in one building in a very big school district where, I mean, just to call a spade, I was one of a number.
Mm.
Um, I was when you're in a really small town and you have your superintendent's number that you text, like, there was one day, like, Brady had a seizure, and
Mm.
he was okay, or then we weren't sure if it was a seizure, and I was kind of like, "Do I go in the next day or do I not go in?" And I got a text from the superintendent who's like, "Brooke, you're staying home tomorrow.
Mm.
Like, we will see you on Monday." But in this district, I am one of thousands of teachers. They don't know how hard I work. Are you there? Are you not? We only really know who you are if there's a problem. I mean,
Mm.
that's the the bottom line. And all of a sudden, I was what I think of is I became the absolute stereotypical, average, completely burnt out, angry, exhausted, working mom.
Hmm.
That is in my head, that is a stereotype in my head, and that is what I turned into, working 5 days a week in this school, in this new town. We loved Alaska. Our family was doing amazing here. We had year-round wrestling. We had competitive cheerleading. We had drama. We had all these drama like a club. We had all these things that we wanted for our kids. And I like everybody was doing so well here. And I was unraveling,
Mm.
trying to make it all happen for us. And it became it was a start of a pretty dark season for me. I remember this was 2.5 years ago, fall of 2023. Yeah. And I remember telling my husband, I think I need to see a doctor because
Hmm.
I don't think I don't think this is normal how I'm handling things, how I'm handling our kids, how I'm, you know, that I can be so together for my students and my principal and the parents I deal with, and then I lose my temper on our kids. Um, this is not this is not okay. This is not what I want to do. And I don't talk about it a lot, but it's true. I, made that appointment and we talked about how many life changes we'd have and how overwhelming things were, and we just moved and I have 6 kids, I have a full-time job, and she said, "Well, we
That's
can
a
talk
lot.
about medication. Yeah, let's talk about some medication. Let's not talk about changing anything in your life.
Right.
Let's not talk about
Mm.
maybe
Like what
maybe
something's
making
got to
some
give.
adjustments."
Yeah.
Yeah. She was like, "Let's make sure you have a pill to forget the fact that you really have a life you can't keep up with." And I think that is what a lot of women, if they actually ask for help, that's what a lot of them get is a prescription, and probably a drug dependency, as a result, or just well, and then it became this is what I wanted. This is I wanted every single one of these children. I went to school for this degree. I have a loving husband. I chose to be here. Buck up. This is this is the life you wanted. So whether you're going to enjoy it or not, keep going, cuz this nobody made you do any of these things. So get up and do it again tomorrow. You'll just be really tired until all your kids are gone. So just keep going.
Hmm.
And that's where I probably would have stayed, because I wasn't looking for solutions. It was like, "Okay, this is the way it is." Um, but I it came upon my path, another mom from wrestling had replaced her income as a dental hygienist with an online business, and it caught my husband and my attention because we knew what was going on. I could not keep going, but I wasn't going back to school. We weren't buying lotto tickets. Like this was what we had. This was our life. And so, long story shorter, I ended up starting an online business almost exactly 2 years ago. And simply with the hope of maybe I can pay for competitive cheer. Maybe I can maybe I can pay for a laundry service. Maybe I can get a house cleaner, something to take something off my plate.
Mhm.
And I ended up replacing my teaching income in
Oh,
within
that's
my first
amazing.
year. Yeah, with the business, and I have now marked a year that I've been working from home, and that oh, let me tell you, they say happy wife, happy life, for the men, but when you can be a mom that can see beyond what we're gonna have for dinner, you can start to
Mm,
you know, see beyond the end of your nose. It opens up a whole new I mean, your family blossoms when you as a mom become healthy and begin to just flourish. And
mhm,
it wasn't I think for a long time I thought doing anything for myself would have been selfish, but it's ended up proving the exact opposite is the
mm,
healthier and more fulfilled. You said what fills your cup? That I become, the healthier and more fulfilled and more thriving my family becomes.
mhm.
And that I feel like we are just it's like our life just started, honestly, as a family of like, okay, wow, what is going to happen from here? Because it's really good. It's not getting through the day. It's like, how are we going to fill our day?
Well, I'm proud of you. I think it's really hard to leave something that is stable and secure and you know you're going to get X amount of income every month and then to kind of go off on something and take maybe something make take a risk, so to speak. That can be scary. But I feel like when you're getting to your breaking point, there's kind of like two things like you're teetering back and forth and like you're either going to crash and burn or something has to change. And I'm sorry that when you went to go get help that you weren't received, like, where you were to change things. It's like there there are so many things that need to change here to make life better and more enjoyable, so just so glad that you were able to do that and that it's been a success and that you were able to replace your teaching income and that you were able to get back that flexibility that you had when you first started your career.
Yeah, um it's been a huge blessing and just opened up ways that our family really needed. I mean, with 6 kids, we need somebody at home. Um, but we didn't have that before, so everybody just kinda I mean, the house just became a tornado ground, and it works much more smoothly when it's not.
Yeah, I bet. I absolutely can't imagine. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about your business and how people can connect with you?
Oh, I'd love that. You can connect with me on social media. My social media is linked here. That is probably the easiest for people. Instagram and Facebook are the main ones that I pay attention to. But I also have an email, like everybody. I am launching a website of my own, and it is, I mean, days away from going live when you and I are recording this. So it will definitely be up by the time this podcast comes up.
Yay, that's exciting.
And that has been I love when you talked about that you were looking for this creative outlet and you found it was so healthy for you because when I started my business, I was not looking for a
Mm,
creative outlet. I was looking for income. And it has only been coming up on 2 years in my business, the last 4 months that I realized the creativity I could put into my business.
mm,
Um, I had a lot to learn because I didn't go to school for business, and so I was doing things a lot of ways that I was taught to do from the people I'm with, from coaches, and I would do all the things, but there was this whole additional purpose, back to the Thierry Savelle, additional vision, additional dream that I'm realizing I have, and this love to
mm.
create and this love to coach that I am now just uncovering and creating, and it is all coming together in the form of this website as a launching place. Who knows where it could go from there. So that I'll even tell you the name because I haven't announced the name yet, but I it's one of those like when I realized the name, it's called At the Brook, like
Oh,
a
I love
brook,
that.
but
Yes,
I'm Brooke, yes. So, find
that's
me at the Brook,
perfect.
and the website will be here, and gosh, who knows what it'll look like in 5 weeks when we
That
yeah,
is that is so exciting. Yeah, I feel like that's helpful for people to know. I'm like 5 weeks ahead of recording. Sometimes I'll refer to something, and then when it comes out, I'm like, "That was over a month ago."
got it.
But I will link all of that in the show notes. So your Instagram, your Facebook, your website, your email if you'd like, so people can connect with you and learn more about your online business and everything. It has been so fun to chat and just learn about your family and how you balance everything and how you're still balancing everything with motherhood and creating a business. And it's also exciting. So, if you could have a heart to heart with a twin mom or give her a piece of advice, what would you tell her?
I love this question, Jess, because I would definitely tell a twin mom that it gets easier. Something my husband would ask almost compulsively every time. I don't have many memories from those, I'd say, first 6 months with the twins. I was very tired. But when we would go somewhere, we would have the 2 car seats, pediatrician, we'd have our 2-year-old, we'd be trying to keep track of everything, 2 different diaper bags, all the things. And people would say to us, "Are they twins?" And we would say yes. And then, from my memory, I mean, it was not uncommon that then somebody would say, "Oh, I have twins," or "I am a twin," or "These are my twins," or whatever. And my husband would always say, does it get easier?" And he was laughing, but he was also begging someone to tell him that it gets easier. And they would say, "No, no, it doesn't. It just changes." And it does get easier. I don't know if they
Mm,
don't remember those first 6 months or that first year. It absolutely gets easier. Now, yeah, twins are always their own version of difficult. All of parenting is.
mhm,
But I remember as we were living it, every 6-month milestone, looking at my husband and saying, "This is so much easier now." They hit 6 months and they were able to sit up. I didn't, I, I didn't have to have the boppy everywhere. They were starting to gnaw on solid foods. I had a second before I had to nurse them again. It was so much easier than those
mhm,
first 6 months. Then we hit a year and everybody was alive and they were eating even more and they could actually sit in a playpen for a minute while I
mhm,
went to the bathroom. It got easier. And 18 months, they were getting into everything, but they were they were happy. They were less dependent on me in, some ways. Again, I nursed them and then potty training the twins was easier than potty training my older daughter because they would remind each other that they had to go.
mhm,
It gets easier. 100%. You will get through that beginning when it is so exhausting and you're just trying to keep everybody alive, including yourself, including
mhm,
another child, including your marriage. It gets easier, I promise, and it gets a lot of fun. So, and I don't know why these guys all had the perspective that
mm,
it doesn't, because it absolutely does.
mm. I love that, and obviously, I'm still in, like, the very, like, baby stages and, like, toddler stages still, and
Wow.
I already feel that way, and, twin toddlers, like, aren't for the weak, but it's, like, significantly easier when they were newborns. We were up every 2 hours. I was so sleep deprived. I'm still tired, but I feel like you can handle a lot more things once you've slept, and I love looking at things in 6-month time frames. I think that's very smart because from 1 week to 1 week, it's kind of a roller coaster. Like,
Oh,
"Oh,
yeah.
this is hard. Oh, this is easy." If you look at things in 6-month chunks, I think you're exactly right. From 1 year to 18 months, 18 months to 2, yes, things absolutely do become more manageable. So, I absolutely love that. And okay, I do have another question.
Yeah.
Since your twins are 10,
Yep.
what do you think was the hardest age, and what do you think has been not the easiest, but, like, the most fun age so far? I mean, they're only 10, but it's.
Well, so again, as we established, I guess I am not normal. I love 18 months to age 5.
I do
That
too.
is
I
just
do too.
my love language. So when you say your boys are about to be 3, now my husband, he will die on the hill that 3-year-olds are the worst. He's like, "Talk to me when they're 4. They are yours for this year." And of course, then we have a self-fulfilling prophecy that, like, he literally says that on their 3rd birthday. Do you think he enjoys that year with them? No, not so much.
Sure.
Um, so you have to keep in mind that I am coming from that perspective. But I my favorite looking back, and they're awesome now. I mean, I will say I think 10, I think 4th grade, they're just so much fun, and what their creativity and their optimism, and they don't have the attitude that my 12-year-old has now developed. I'm hoping that's just a personality thing. I'm hoping that's not an age rite of passage. But I love where they are now. I think, 3rd, 4th grade, they just where they find what they love and they want
Mm,
to work and get better at it. But personally, when they were 18 months, well, when they were 21 months, that's when our 4th was born. And that when they were no longer the center of the world, that that started a beautiful season for them.
mm,
Our twins are Caroline and Howard. Now she goes by Cece, little like the letter C's. She always would watch her other 2 siblings. Tracy was the oldest. She would do it first. Howard would watch Tracy and do it 5 seconds later. If Tracy could do it, he was going to do it. And Cece would watch the 2 of them. Even as an 18-month-old, as a 1-year-old, it was like she was saying, "I'm going to see if it kills the 2 of you, and then maybe I will consider it." She was her own little reserved kind of princess. And then her little sister was born. And it was like Caroline found her place in the world the moment
hmm,
she became a big sister. And it was literally like you saw her identity take shape with this little sister. And that I feel like became from 21 months to probably 3 years of age, watching the 2 of them grow as older siblings and as not just in
hmm,
Tracy's shadow and not just the twins. And then of course it's just my favorite age of that. Everything's a lesson, everything's exciting. You can't take a walk to the mailbox without stopping and looking at every single ladybug. That was a very precious time. But then I have to remind myself that then I have to look at today and say, no, today is also a really precious time
mm.
because it all goes by so fast. And you can spend your whole motherhood looking back and saying, well, you were so cute when you were a baby. You were so cute when you were a toddler. You were so cute when you were in second grade. So, my wrestler, Howard, he has said he has these huge goals of going to kids nationals, and I mean, he's talking Olympics possibly, and
That's
who knows?
amazing.
But I don't want we don't want to be the reason that doesn't happen. If that doesn't happen, it's because he didn't want that anymore. So I'm driving him to all these practices. We ended up adjusting his school schedule leading up to state, like, and he got in the car, I don't know, late April, and it smelled so bad. It smelled like feet. It smelled like the worst wrestling shoes. And I remember thinking, okay, this is, yes, you're a boy. Yes, you're 10. Yes, this is going to get worse. And then I thought, do you realize how soon it's going to be that he drives himself to these practices? Do you
Mm-mm-mm.
know how lucky you are that you still get this time driving him to all these practices? Because this kid is going to be an athlete wherever he is. He's going to be an athlete for the rest of his life. Do you know how brief this window is that I get to smell the stinky shoes? That he
No.
still needs me to drive him to these practices, that he can't wait to get in the car and tell me what he learned. And it was like, whew, I will never take this for granted. Sorry.
No, you're making me emotional too. That's so sweet. And I feel like before you were telling the story about his stinky shoes, I was actually getting emotional about like you saying when you're taking your toddlers at a walk and they're like stopping to look at all of the bugs. I feel like sometimes in motherhood, you feel like, oh, I just wish the stage was over. This stage is so frustrating. They're not sleeping through the night. Ah. And then I feel like motherhood, especially to twins, at least in my opinion, is the perfect reminder to slow down because it isn't going to last forever. And your story made me think of something that my kids have done recently. So, the way our house is set up, my daughter does not have a bathroom with a tub on like the side of the house where her room is. So, we have always given her a bath in our son's room, which used to be the guest room. And then I would carry her to the other side of the house and do her pajamas in her room for years. This is what we did, bath in the other room, carried across the house. And then one day she just goes, I'll walk. I was a blubbering baby. And my husband was like, what just happened? And I was like, she doesn't want me to carry her to her room anymore. And literally, maybe maybe 3 weeks ago, one of my sons said that. And I was like, no, let me hold you like a baby. Because all of those phases go by so fast.
They
So,
do. And
yeah, that's so sweet.
you don't get them back. You
Yeah.
don't you can't just jump back for a day and say, "Okay, I'm just gonna push the time machine and go back to when Cece was 2 years old, and just for the day, it's just fun for the moment. Then I can come back and they can all take care of themselves." It's just it's time. Time is such a thief.
Mhm.
But
That is
it
so
is
true.
so precious if you can acknowledge it, can see it, and you're not gonna, now you can be like, "Okay, maybe every other day I get to carry you," because you won't be able to carry her forever. Maybe it
Yeah.
becomes you know, once a week you get to carry her, just special. Mama gets to carry you. She does it for you instead of you doing it for her until you can't.
Mhm. I know. It's so sweet. Have you seen, I feel like this was a little while ago. It's like a trend where a mom holds her son for the last time, like almost like a straddle baby hold, and the
Yeah,
mom's, like, struggling to do it. Her son's, like, 9 or 10,
yeah.
and even some of the sons got emotional to be like, carried and held by their moms like that again. Because, yeah, at a certain point, like, you physically are not gonna be able to carry your adult son, like,
Yep.
So, all of that is so sweet and makes me so emotional too, so mm.
Just cherish those babies. I'm doing it right now with I mean, it's so stupid, but, um, these, my kids are into the little boys are into the Pokemon cards. I think they're so stupid. I don't like but there is going to be a day when I mean, they don't I'm making myself stop right now, and if they wanna talk to me about a Pokemon card, it's like, "Okay, let's go.
Okay.
I
Mhm.
What do you wanna tell me?" Because it will not last.
Well, and I think that's so important too, like, my mom and I have always been very close, and I feel like for the most part, I could talk to her about anything, and I think that starts very little, like, about stupid things like Pokemon cards, because one day when they're older and they wanna talk to you about a girl or an issue at school, if you maybe didn't make time or space for those conversations that seemed trivial in the moment, like, then they're not gonna come looking for that as they're older and they have more important issues, so I think that's a good reminder too. Even if you're like, "I have work to do, dishes to do," like, there's always a task to be done to take those 5 minutes and just listen when your kids wanna talk about something that's important to them, even if it seems silly, so I love that, and I
I
think
love
that's a
that.
good reminder too.
And I don't know if you ever ask this of your listeners, but if you're listening, write in the comments, what are your kids talking your
Mm.
ear off about right now that you could care less about? My 12-year-old, it was the Percy Jackson. Now she just finished reading she's into a book series. I need to go listen to her better. I'll comment when it comes out and write what the book series is. But tell us, what are your kids into? And it's like, okay, I don't really care, but I care about my child. So
Yes,
tell us
yes,
what they're
and
into.
yeah, exactly. I have had just such a good conversation, and it's always nice to talk to other moms, especially twin moms, and reflect on everything and just feel like that was a really good conversation, and I'm so thankful for it. We even got a little teary-eyed at the end there. So,
Yep,
thank you so
sure
much
enough.
for coming
Thanks so
on
much, Jess. This
today.
is such a great space that you have for twin moms. So thank you for
Mm,
inviting me here and for just serving this very unique, special section of moms.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy twin mom life to listen along. I hope this podcast shed some light on a topic that's been on your heart and gave you more confidence as a twin mama. If you know a twin mom, please send this her way. If you like what you heard today, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Check out the show notes to be connected with today's guest and get discount codes for brands I love. See you next Thursday. Until then, you were made for this.